Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Muscle Tussle, and with me today to show off our muscles at the beach, I guess, is my good friend S.C. McPeter. Say hi.
Howdy, sir.
Yes, we're going to definitely discuss that choice of voice for this muscle-bound character that we'll see, but in any case, so just a few bits of info to get out of the way. So as mentioned, this is Muscle Tussle, released on the 18th of April 1953. It had a Blue Ribbon reissue in roughly 1962. It's the 677th in the series and directed by Bob McKimson. There is a restoration out there which I'll be using for this review. It looks beautiful, but it's not on disc yet. So you would think it's a candidate for a collector's choice volume, and if it does get released, I'll update the description with that set, whatever it may be. I can't show it to you guys here because it's under copyright. YouTube will just block the video if I put the whole cartoon, or if anyone does that for that matter. But in case you haven't seen this one, Daffy and his girlfriend are at the beach where a muscle-bound beachgoer catches the girlfriend's eye, and she prefers a strong man that isn't a coward and not a, as she says, a 9-pound weakling. Daffy then is sold atom coal by a con artist salesman, which apparently would make Daffy strong, and since the product is a dud, you can guess what happens next when Daffy challenges the big muscle-bound beachgoer. So yeah, it's an interesting short there. The idea for this short, and no one's specifically written that McKimson was directly influenced by this or not, but a lot of this stuff comes from Charles Atlas. There was these advertisements in the 40s and the 50s where there would be this weakling with a girlfriend. He would have sand kicked in his face by this muscle-bound bully or whatever, and the weakling decides to do something about it. He orders Charles Atlas's products, gets strong, and then gets his revenge on the bully. So this is kind of like that idea, the whole beach-going comparison from a weakling to body perfection. I also want to point out that around this time, building was really starting to take off. It had always been around in various ways, but now we were starting to really get into the whole bodybuilding side. And you got stars that came out of that, like Jack LaLanne, you got Steve Reeves.
Beach culture was becoming a big thing around this time.
Yeah, exactly. So the core idea would have most likely come from those Charles Atlas comic strip advertisements, but bodybuilding as well was out there. And even the design of this muscle-bound hunk, because it's unnamed here, so I'll just call it the hunk, I suppose. But if you look at the hair, it kind of looks like the hair of the wrestler Gorgeous George. So you'd have to wonder if whoever designed this character was a wrestling fan, maybe? It's up for speculation. I just noticed that I was like, oh, the hair looks interesting. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like to me.
You might be, Anthony. You might be.
Now, what is known, though, is the voice of the girlfriend in this one, and I don't know why people say it's Melissa Duck. She's unnamed here, so it's just the girlfriend, okay? But the voice actress, uncredited, of course, because only Mel Blake got credit, was Gladys Holland, and she also did the voice of the narrator in UPA's Madeline in 1951, which I absolutely adore. I think it's a beautiful cartoon, that one. One of the best UPA's made, in my opinion, at least. She'd have supporting roles throughout the years in other cartoons and also in Hitchcock films and such. And she even did an audio commentary with Jerry Beck and Lennon Moulton for the UPA set, which is really nice to see, or hear, rather. Now, we see Atom Coal, and that's a parody of Hadda Coal, and that was a so-called vitamin supplement, and I use those in big inverted quotes. In fact, a lot of times when you see vitamin supplements, yeah, I'm not going to get into how scammy I feel a lot of those are, but this definitely was. It was like 12% alcohol. And according to Evan Baxter's article that I'll be adding in the description, he said that some so-called dry states that didn't have alcohol, people would just drink this stuff because they had like 12% alcohol.
That's like vodka.
Yeah, so it's a lot more than beer. Beer is like 3 or 4%, depending on what you drink, or sometimes even 6%. But this particular product was heavily promoted by various celebrities at the time too, so it was a big deal. Hence, McKimson obviously heard it, and Ted Pierce would have heard it, and that's where that comes from. But as I mentioned with Evan Baxter's article, if you want to know who animated what, some animators are pretty obvious, some are not. So if you want to know, I'll have a link below to his breakdown, and if you want to know a few other bits of info. But one thing I did notice, and this is something that you'll only get if you watch these in order, this is the first time Daffy says,
"You're despicable."
You're despicable. But in a McKimson short. Obviously, he said it already in the Hunting trilogy so far, but in McKimson, This is his first time.
He's beginning
So
to
there you go.
adjust.
Yes. McKimson will be the last holdout, I believe.
I think one thing that he kept consistent was keeping Daffy incredibly obnoxious in one way or another. I think that's the most prevalent thing about McKimson's cartoons is that even if they're talky, the leads are often these obnoxious brats, which helps to justify why they're so talky, like Daffy here or Foghorn Leghorn.
Exactly. And at least here, it's pretty funny, at least in my opinion. I do like the fact that, okay, Daffy's not that woo-woo type character, nor should he be, because characters evolve. Here, he's not quite the character that Jones was starting to do with Daffy. He's still, as you say, obnoxious. But I gotta ask you, before we get into the cartoon, that girlfriend character, such a weird design. I think the eyes...
Yeah, I think it's the eyes. It's unusual for the cartoons, but it also looks like a real duck's eyes, which I guess is supposed to make her cuter, but it only just makes her look a little bit more unsettling compared to the other ducks. I think the other unsettling part is that she looks like she's related to the duck that's trying to woo her.
We're not going to get into those sort of theories in any case. But yeah, I think the eyes, I think that it's a bit of a design fail in that regard. I think, look, I'm all for artists trying new and different things, but not everything's going to work. And in this case, those eyes just look soulless.
The main thing that works around this period for duck characters with McKimson is their big giant beaks that they have that feel like they're made out of dough.
Yes, I totally agree there. Otherwise, it's just those eyes. Just, ugh. Like it's kind of evil. And honestly, as much as I liked Gladys Holland's narration in Madeline, here, I don't know if it's the recording. I don't want to say it's all her fault to that, but I find her a little bit hard to hear. It could be just my own hearing.
Well, go ahead, sock him then. Smash him in the mush. Give him a clunk in the head. Gee, Daffy, you're an awful little coward, aren't you? I don't like cowards. I like big, strong men like him. Goodbye, you scrawny little 9-pound weakling. Gee, what's the matter with you, Daffy? You got a stiff neck? Gee, handsome, you're sure strong, huh? Well, what do you know? Come on, Daffy. I only like them if they're tall, dark, and gruesome.
I think the voice she's just using is a little bit lossy on its own.
Yeah, I think it doesn't quite work. But thankfully, look, she's not the main focus here. I mean, of course, her liking the hunk drives the plot forward as to why Daffy ends up drinking the thing.
The equivalent of 5 ounces of wine.
Yeah, exactly. So, having a look at this short from the start, and I like the opening pan, but you got something to say about that opening pan.
Look very closely on the left as the pan. You'll notice that there's a line for just a little bit. This is actually a cell edge. When characters go from stage left to stage right or vice versa, or you're watching a pan like that and their cells interplaced of action, they would often use these very long cells, these rectangular cells, so you wouldn't see that. But in this case, it looks like they placed the cell a little too early, so you can see that. Another place where you can see this is in some Terry tunes from the 30s, where Paul Terry was too cheap to actually buy those longer cells, so you would just see that casually as if there was just a line, like in some pretty bad prints. But here, it just looks like it was just placed a little too early. I can't blame it, but it's interesting to see, especially when you have a high-resolution copy like this.
Exactly. It's probably not something you would have noticed in the earlier unrestored versions of this short, so it's something definitely interesting to see how they got around things, because as I would have mentioned in a few of these reviews already, but in case you're one of the few that maybe encountered this review, the budgets are starting to decline, and as a result, you're going to see some, I guess, shortcuts. And honestly, if you're watching this on a theater screen, there would have been some grain and such, and it pans so quickly that, honestly, people would have noticed it. So it's just something that us, I guess, obsessive nerds like to go over in any case. But no, it's still interesting to see. But what's interesting as well is that you got the design of this hunk, which, I like the design here. Unlike the girlfriend, I do like this design here, the whole massive body, short legs kind of thing. But the voice, I mean, if this was any other studio, you just know that they would have hired maybe, I don't know.
Not Mel Blanc.
And yet, he does the southerner voice.
Again, it plays very well, because again, he isn't like this big, obnoxious guy that likes to bully. He's very calm. He knows that Daffy is the obnoxious one in this scenario, and that he can play against him and be confident.
Starting something.
Look, friend, if you all don't stop flapping that big yap of yours, I'm gonna have to knock your head so far down between your little old shoulders, you'll have to unbutton your vest to eat.
Ho, ho! That's rich, I'll say.
He's just at the beach, and to be fair, okay, so he's showing off, he's posing and all that stuff, and you can sort of roll your eyes at that, but he's not hurting anyone. He's just at the beach, he's just flexing his muscles, minding his own business, and it just so happens that the girlfriend has taken a liking to him. So that just says more about Daffy's relationship with the girlfriend, I guess, because this guy wouldn't matter if Daffy's and her relationship was pretty strong, but in any case, but such a gentle voice, Southern style. He doesn't fight until provoked, and of course, he's pretty good at that, right?
Yep.
Whack.
I think this goes to show just how great the Warner shirts were at characterization, where a lot of other studios weren't necessarily good at landing personalities, or they would use ones that you've seen before, but the Warner cartoons always had just a little bit extra in that category. More than gag or story drove them, especially because you have very strong characters like Daffy being the obnoxious coward who has to drink this alcohol to get his strength that nearly makes him vomit. And you have not just a typical beach bully, but you have someone that actually makes Daffy look very pathetic by comparison. And Daffy is pathetic by comparison.
100%. And so we see that she calls him a 9-pound weakling, and he corrects her by saying he's a 10-pound weakling, which is, again, another reference to the whole Charles Atlas thing, where in the strips it's like 97-pound weakling, but of course he's a duck, he's going to weigh a lot less, right? So that's where that comes from. So, the salesman, and I've always loved this kind of salesman voice that Mel Blanc does, the hurry, hurry, like the Barker type salesman voice, and
Hurry, hurry, hurry. Come here, one and all. I've got some booze on the beach for you.
pretty much, and it's similar to the Barker voice in the Porgy short where the guy says he's going to go into a glass of water. That kind of voice. I've always loved that.
You say you're a 10-pound weakling? You say you're not satisfied with your puny physique? I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll prove to you that Adam Call will make a new man out of you.
When you see the bottle, you can see it's a scam. 10% pure tap water and 9% hot mustard. I'll give it credit that at least the bottle knows it's a scam. Mel Blanc's delivery and just how good he was, in how he just quickly goes as a salesman, I'm going to give you a shot of Adam Cole for free for $5. It just takes the $5.
I'm gonna give you a shot of Adam Call absolutely free for $5. Thank you. Open wide.
If you've seen really good salesmen, and I mean really good salesmen, some of them are so good, you don't realize what you've done. It's like, wait a minute, did I really sign a contract for such and such product? Or did I really pay money for this? You sort of don't realize what you've done. Those are really good salesmen, and that's what Mel Blanc's clearly going for here. It's done pretty well. Just like Scribbler's animation of Daffy coughing, right? That's a good one to slow-mo. I think Scribbler's not as wild in this one as he usually is under McKimson, but he's got his moments. Then you got the salesman technique. He's blowing the balloons for dumbbells, and Daffy's like, yep, I'm really strong now. Just, yep, why not? But we get actual proper part of the short, which is the strength challenge. And we know how this is going to go, but thankfully it's done in a way that you know how it's going to go, but you don't know what's going to happen, if that makes sense. So, first one, the pole scene. So, you see this hunk getting a pole, tying up a bow, and then you got Daffy gets a fishing pole, can't even deal with that, but he still ends up tying the bow anyway. So, okay, nice way to start off. You got to start off small, which is fair enough. But the next one is kind of brutal. So you've got the hunk making nails out of this chain by eating it, basically, chewing on it. It's like, just because he's muscle bound doesn't mean his teeth are going to be strong, but anyway, whatever.
I just love Daffy's smile as his teeth are breaking.
And he spits out the teeth, and looking at this restoration, you can see he even had some gold teeth too, which, would have cost him a fair bit, but anyway.
I guess he's lost his teeth before.
Seems like it, yeah, and then does that smile with having less teeth, so, I mean, yeah, I know, cartoon logic, ducks don't actually have teeth, but whatever, we don't care about that, do we? Except for obsessive people like me. Then we got the balancing on a bottle, so showing off. I like the idea here where it's not just about strength, it's also about grace and balance, where you can be as strong as you want, but if you're not flexible or if you're not good at balancing, it means nothing. So he does that. And then you got that one other bit that's good slow-mo, and that's Daffy getting sucked into the bottle. Just cause, right?
Yeah.
Now, rock breaking. This, students of animation should look at this scene. I think it's got a great thing in it. So, of course, you got the hunk, he's got the hammer, He breaks a rock, no problem, so it sets it up nicely. He then hands the hammer to Daffy, and you can feel the weight of this hammer. Just the animation of Daffy struggling with that. Then he struggles to lift this hammer. Just the weight of it. It is so good at how it's done there. It is fantastic. Some of the best bits of animation in this short. And you think what's going to happen here? Is he going to break maybe the rock a little bit or whatever? But no, he just shatters. Why not? Which is done extremely well as well. That's probably my favorite out of the challenges, but which would be your favorite?
Absolutely the teeth.
Okay. I like both, but the rock breaking, I think, is just the animation I love as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's great animation.
So then we get to the point where Daffy still doesn't understand that he was suckered in, right? So he's just thinking, what can I do about it? So I guess the salesman is still there and lets him have those balloons or something, because he comes back.
He doesn't want him to think it's a scam.
Yeah, I don't know if he blows up another one or whatever, but anyway, he goes back and the hunk's like, oh, okay. And you kind of know what to expect here. You sort of think, okay, something's going to happen with this hunk holding this very light object, and sure enough, he just rockets upwards and then lands, and he says, y'all can call me Shorty.
Yep. I guess the impact is what makes him so short, but it's so off-putting just to watch him become short, and it is really funny because it's just the size portion of him is hilarious.
Exactly. And I don't know if that's some sort of a line from a show or a movie or something. Y'all can call me Shorty.
I guess it was just a way of saying, just call me Shorty.
Maybe there's nothing to it there. And of course, Daffy gets his woman back. So that's that. We end the short.
I think it is a very funny short. It has Daffy and a nice little rivalry that isn't with Bugs Bunny. And it makes him out to be a lot more cowardice and obnoxious than usual.
I think this one's one of those little gems that McKimson did around this time, because the previous one we did was just okay, and McKimson is now going to be sort of hit and miss, because the upcoming one have There Ought to Be a Law, which a lot of people don't seem to want to join me on as a guest, but anyway, actually I've never seen that one, so that'll be interesting. But, you know, this short gets, I don't know, 8.5 out of 10. It's nothing, I guess, special, but it's a nice gem, it's hilarious, it's a simple story, and yeah, I quite like this one. Yeah, 8.5. What would you rate this one?
I'm going to give it a nice 8. It's a nice cartoon.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a definitely solid one. And as I mentioned before, I hope this comes on to an upcoming Collector's Choice set. And if it does come out, I'll put an update in the description and paste a link to whatever set that may be. I mean, it might be on some Warner Archive movie to do with the beach around this time. I don't know. Or who knows? But whatever it may be, I'll put a link. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And until next time, take care.
That's all, folks.
You all can call me Shorty.
Come on, Daffy. I only like him if they're tall, dark, and gruesome, like you.